Hello, I'm Mark from Moonstone Publications. Welcome to this overview of some of the stories we've covered over the past week. But first, please hit the subscribe button and share this video with your friends and colleagues. The National Prosecuting Authority's first indictment in the Steinhoff case lays bare schemes that generated more than 20 billion rand in what it called illusory profits and income over 3 years. The indictment was presented against former Steinhoff executives Ben Legrandsie and Stephanus Grobler in the Pretoria Specialized Commercial Crimes Court. According to the indictment, the Steinhoff Group falsified profits through two elaborate schemes. One of the schemes, called the TG Group fraud, allegedly involved treating loans as assets and fictitious payments as revenue without corresponding costs. Meanwhile, the FSCA plans to lodge a claim against the estate of the late Marcus Jooste to recover R500 million in penalties. The day before Jooste's reported suicide in March, the authority imposed a fine of 475 million rand on Jooste for disseminating false and misleading information about Steinhoff International Holdings. In 2022, the FSCA imposed a fine of 20 million rand for insider trading. Neither of these fines has been paid. Gerard van Deventer, the head of the authority's enforcement division, said the fines hold the same weight as civil court judgments and can be enforced against Jooste's estate. The FSCA's latest regulatory actions report shows the authority imposed administrative penalties totaling some 943 million rand, a ninefold increase compared to the previous year. Apart from the fine imposed on Jooste, noteworthy penalties included 216 million rand on CBI Director Quinrad Botha and 143 million rand on Classic Financial Services Jacobus Geldenhuys. The value of penalties for FICO contraventions also saw a marked increase. There was a 15% increase in debarments by financial services providers, with dishonesty cited as the reason in almost all cases. FSCA debarments decreased by 25%, with many debarments linked to the submission of fictitious policies. The Ombud Council has published the finalized new rules for the FAIS Ombud. The most notable change is the increase in the maximum compensation the Ombud can award for financial prejudice or damage from 800,000 rand to 3.5 million rand. Additionally, the new rules introduce clearer consequences for FSPs that fail to cooperate with the Ombud. The Ombud is now required to inform the FSCA of any material contraventions or persistent non-cooperation by an FSP. Furthermore, the FAIS Ombud will no longer handle complaints involving unauthorized advice or intermediary services. National Treasury says the country is not expected to be removed from the grey list before June next year. This comes after the outcomes of the Financial Action Task Force's plenary meetings last month. Following South Africa's grey listing in February last year, a 22-item action plan was agreed on to address the deficiencies in the country's anti-money laundering regime. Treasury said the final deadline to address these items is January next year. Following this, an on-site visit by the FATF's Africa Middle East Joint Group is required to confirm progress. If successful, a recommendation to remove South Africa from the grey list will be made at the plenary in June. Last month's plenary did not discuss removing South Africa from the grey list, but focused on the progress the country has made in addressing the items on the action plan. Medy Help, South Africa's fifth largest open medical scheme, reported a significant drop in its solvency ratio last year. The ratio decreased by 10 percentage points falling to 23.84% at the end of December, which is 2 percentage points below the prescribed minimum level. Medihelp attributed the decline to high claims. Medihelp was required to submit a 3-year sustainability plan to the Council for Medical Schemes. This plan outlines a specific percentage increase in member contributions over 3 years to restore reserve levels to the statutory 25%. The Ombudsman for Long-Term Insurance saw a decrease of almost 6% in the number of complaints that fell within its jurisdiction last year. The Ombud's latest annual report also shows a further decline in cases that were resolved either wholly or partially in favour of complainants. Despite the lower number of complaints, the amount recovered for complainants in the form of lump sums was up by 28% to more than 283 million rand. Insurers declining claims because the policy terms or conditions were not recognised or met remained the biggest reason for complaints last year. That's all we have for this week. You can read these stories and many more on our website, moonstone.co.za. Until next time, here's wishing you all the best from the team at Moonstone Information Refinery.